Hello and welcome to Categories TV, and this is episode 1 of Desi Rexx's Rock Tales. Welcome back, Desi. Last time I had you on a few months ago, I just loved your energy that I decided we have to have you back once a month. And you mentioned last time, and we never really got into it, the fact that you'd auditioned for Kiss. So, what year was that around? And could you tell us that story?
Let's see, that was in 1730. It was probably my best guess is around 82, 81, 82.
Around the time Ace would have been leaving, huh?
Right. That was the gig. That was it. And so, one of the problems you have with any of these cattle call auditions when it's a real big gig is that there's going to be like 2,000 guys.
Sure. Yeah.
And the problem with something like that is when you go say you go see a band.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what band it is. You remember their first song.
Sure.
And their last song, and maybe a ballad in the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So you do not want to be in the middle of the cattle call.
Yeah.
Right? You want to either be the first guy or the last guy if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, so there's a little bit of a story, a little bit of a backstory to the Kiss thing, and a little bit of a front story too.
Sure.
So it goes like this. They still had their makeup on.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I used to bump into Paul pretty frequently on the Sunset Strip. He would have his makeup off, and I kind of knew what he looked like.
Yeah.
And it was sort of understood that you wouldn't come up and go, Paul Stanley, because I knew him a little bit. And there was a girl that was really good friends with okay, you need some backstory. So Chips Enough.
Okay.
And Desi, I got to get my hair right here.
Yeah.
Chips Enough and Desi were in a band called We're Staying. Like, we're not going, we're staying.
Oh, wow.
And it was because he lived in a neighborhood that was changing racially at the time in Chicago.
Okay.
And so there was this movement of the people that lived there that said, we're not going, we're staying. Because a lot of times values would drop and everybody'd run away. And then, and you're the last guy holding it was not so good. So we thought, well, heck, if we called the band We're Staying, we could probably go in there and ask for like 5,000 buttons, and they'd give them to us, and we'd have buttons to pass out for everybody for our band. Wow. So that's what we did. And we called the band We're Staying, and it was a great drummer named Zato Cruz and a great guitar player named Bob McNaughton, and whatever your opinion of me is, and Chip, And so in those days, well, anyway, so all of us sang, and so there were 4 lead singers. Maybe some a little bit others, but it was a lot like the Beatles.
Yeah.
And John Lennon hadn't died yet, so this was like 79, 80. And Beatle consciousness was at an all-time low. If you remember that, when John died, all of a sudden everybody went, oh my gosh, they were so great. And now they'll never be together again. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody's ever looked back since then. But they were at kind of well, there we were in Chicago. And we would wear, matching outfits, 4 different sets of matching outfits for 4 45-minute sets of all original material. It was crazy. Everything was choreographed and moves and 4 lead singers and great backgrounds. And it was really something.
Yeah.
So that was that band. Now, something happened in that band where the drummer decided to not like me anymore.
Okay.
And it's a long story. And he asked my opinion of a particular gal that used to hang out, and I don't think that I spoke very kindly of her, not knowing that he now was
with her.
In with her. Yeah. And so he took big offense at that, and it just never really healed. And so I found myself out of that band. And so they continued on 3-piece for a while. You go on a little bit later, and Rob Harding from a band called Off Broadway, they were quite a big act.
Okay.
In Chicago, ended up replacing me some years later. So they carried on for a while, but it was never quite the same. And so we had gone in to do a demo, a 5-song demo, for We're Staying. And the way we got to know the producer, it was a guy named Marty Feldman. And this is all leading up to this Kiss thing.
Okay.
And Marty was not the Marty Feldman with the hump on his, not with the hump on his back. Oh, what hump? Not him, different guy. And Marty had a studio called Paragon Studios, And our manager was a guy who had been a firefighter and had met him one time at a 5-alarm fire at the studio. It was a false alarm, whatever it was. And he said, I manage this rock band, and we would, we need to do some recording. And he didn't really know who Marty was. Marty had been the staff engineer, co-producer at Chess Records, all those great blues artists.
Wow, wow.
Back in yeah, he was the real deal. So he got us in to do a demo there, and he paid the money for it, and it was going to be 5 songs. And so we were all democratic, and we voted on which songs we should do.
Yeah.
Well, it was all secret ballads, and so I voted for 5 of my songs because I thought they were the 5 best songs.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, two of them were co-written, one with Zato, one with Chip, but like that. And then all the guys were trying to be politically correct 30 years before that was even a word.
Wow.
I just wanted the best songs recorded, and I really thought my tunes were good. So now we go in the studio to record, and we do it, and we took about 2 days to do all the tracks, and then we mixed them down. But when we went in, we said, "What songs would you like us to do, Marty?" Now he knew that we had 80 original songs. 8.
Wow.
By the way, what did the 0 say to the 8?
I have no idea.
Nice belt.
Love that. Yeah.
So we go in to do this demo, and it was a 5-song demo. And Marty asked us at the beginning of the thing. He said, "Now listen, I just want to tell you guys before we go in to make these recordings, I want Desi to sing lead on all of them."
Wow.
And now here's the thing: these are my buddies, and we're all lead singers. And honestly, the drummer, right away, the band because it was going to be kind of spread around on the 5 songs. And he said, because here's the story, guys. Zato, the drummer, you've got the best voice in the band, hands down. And he did at the time. Bob, you've got the second best voice in the band. But Desi's the only front man you guys have. And we have to be able to sell this project as well. Now he sort of conspicuous. Chip, I guess, ended up 4th out of 4. But Chip's a pretty good singer these days.
Sure.
In those days, yeah. But that's where it was at the time. And so right away, Bob freaks out. Band meeting, and we go in a different room, and he goes, "No way. We all sing lead, and on these songs, we're all going to sing lead, and blah, blah, blah." And okay, now I didn't say a word about it because I was thinking 2 things. One, my adrenaline was way up because I was feeling bad for my buddies because, we're all in this together. But here's this guy who's this really big guy, and he thinks I've got something.
Wow.
So I'll tell you, at that point on that day, my chest puffed up a little bit, and I'm not sure it ever really deflated.
Yeah.
So we go back in, and he said, "Now, what did you decide?" And the other guy said, "We're all going to sing just the way we always do." And he said, "Okay, great, let's record." And we recorded, and it took 2 days, and then we mixed everything down, and then we sat back and listened to it. And you should have. So I still have that demo. I should send that for you.
I'd love to hear that.
Because it's Chip.
Yeah.
It might be a fun one to play on your show. And so it was incredible. Very, very Beatlesque, power pop Chicago. Really, it was really excellent. And we didn't do the 5 that I wanted, but we did 3 of them. So that was cool. Everybody thought that 3 of them were. It was good. And so anyway, when he finishes and we listen back for the first time, it sounded incredible. We're listening on those studio speakers. We were young kids, and it just was incredible. And so we said, "Can we hear it again?" And he goes, "Sure." And he plays it again. "Hang on, my hair is just not, that's better."
Hey, you're a rock star, man. You got that look.
I'm trying. Is there something let's see if there's something we can do here.
Looking good. Yeah, there you go.
That sounds good. So he finishes, and he hands us the tape, and he says, "Good luck, guys." And the guys go, "Aren't you going to shop this for us? Like, aren't you going to go to Los Angeles and shop this?" He said, No, I told you what to do, but you told me what you were going to do. And so I'm out at this point. Best of luck to you.
Wow.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, I went to the movies, and I called what time is rehearsal tomorrow? And Bob said, call our manager instantly. And I called him up and I said, what's the story? He goes, well, Des, it's like this. You're not in the band anymore.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Is that something you decided? He goes, nope.
The band.
Is that something that the guys must have decided? Yup. Okay. So I went over to pick up my stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I get everything. And I used to have this big flight case that had 4 different guitars in it, and it was heavy. And so I take it.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice until about a week later that my 1959 Les Paul Jr. Mustard TV, if they're worth about 30 grand these days, was not there.
Wow.
And the drummer had taken it. And he had decided that his cymbals that got stolen about a month before, they would leave this place open. People came left. We had a house that we all lived in and rehearsed in. And he decided that I took his cymbals. Well, I didn't take your cymbals, Zato.
Yeah.
I didn't take your cymbals. I'm sorry about what I said about Lynette, but I thought that was the truth at the time, but I didn't take your cymbals.
Yeah.
So good luck with that guitar. And he never gave it back. So now, that's like maybe 1980. So then like about a year later, I had it in my mind. Every now and again, you get these ideas. And I had this idea, call Danny Johnson. Now, did we talk about Danny Johnson last time?
No.
Think so.
I'd love to hear that.
Danny, did we do that?
No, we didn't.
Okay. So Danny Johnson used to be in a band called, I'm just getting around to Kiss.
Sure.
Danny Johnson used to be in a band called Axis. Okay. 3-piece band, himself, his brother-in-law, who married Danny's divorced sister that had 4 kids. They had like 3 more. The guy's like 22 and he's got like 7 kids.
Wow.
He's got to pay for. That comes into play. And Danny, of course, and a drummer who was Carmine Appice's younger brother. Vinny.
Yeah.
Right. So they're playing somewhere in a nightclub, and Rick Derringer comes through town and is just clubbing, hanging out after his Johnny Winter show or whatever.
Yeah.
And he sees this band Axis and goes, oh my gosh, these guys are great. So he talks to him afterward and he says, can you guys, do you want to join my band? I'll take you, Danny, and you, Vinny. He said, and you know, Jay, I've got a guy, but I could, and the guy that he had was Kenny Aronson from Stories. Do you remember that band? Louie.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Kenny Aronson.
Wow.
So actually what Jay said at the time was, well, it kind of depends on what it pays, Rick Derringer, because I've got 7 kids. And Rick was like, it doesn't pay that well. It doesn't pay that well. So, you know, Danny was like, are you okay with this? To his brother-in-law. And he goes, yeah, go. Go do it, you know. So Danny Johnson was in Derringer's band. And that was the classic Derringer, you know. Then Danny went from there to Rod Stewart.
Wow.
And while he's in Rod Stewart, he made a record. Alice Cooper called him up and said, can you, would you like to play on my new record? And Danny said, well, I can't tour with you, but yeah, I'd love to, you know. So he did and made this great record. It was called Flush the Fashion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I just had it in my head to call Danny. I probably hadn't talked to him in a year and a half.
Wow.
And I called him up, and he was from Oil City, Louisiana.
Wow.
Now, Oil City, Louisiana is population Danny's family, like the Johnsons, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he goes, Daz, he had that thick drawl, you know, Daz, he goes, what made you call me, bro? I said, I just had a feeling to call you. He goes, well, no stuff. He goes, listen, you got to get out here right away. Well, where's out here? LA. Well, why? I just made a record for Alice, and he wants me to go tour, but I can't do it because I'm in Rod's band. Rod Stewart? Yeah. I said, wow, it's been going well for you. Yeah, it's going great. He goes, look, you got to get out here. You look like me. You play like me. You're the guy, man. It's going to, okay. So I call up the man, and I'm not in where we're staying anymore.
Yeah.
And I call the manager up and I said, I need to fly to LA and I need to do it like tomorrow.
Yeah.
He says, no problem. I'll front you the money. You can pay me back. Well, this is before they deregulated Yeah, it was like $715 in like 1980.
Wow,
Like
wow.
it's like a $2,200 ticket now.
Amazing.
I
Wow.
had to go. I had to go. So I fly out there. Danny picks me up at the airport and he says, I brought you my 56 Les Paul for good luck, bro. Yeah.
Wow.
Big long strap, and so now I'm going to come in. I'm going to look like Danny. I'm going to have his guitar on. I know all the songs because I learned them the night before and on the way over in a Walkman,
Yeah.
on the plane flight. So I've got all the songs down. It was like telephone is ringing, that one, and
Wow.
$1 billion
Yeah.
that one, and Be My Lover, and a bunch of real good Alice Cooper songs. So I Danny drives me straight over to the rehearsal place where the audition's going on, and he introduces me to the band members. And he goes,
Yeah.
"This is my buddy, Dad, came in from Chicago, blah blah blah." So we go in there, and right away there's a guy who's got a little bit of an attitude. He was a bass player. His name was Eric. I forget what, and he was hitting the gin pretty freaking hard. And I got the idea that I don't know if this guy likes me very much, but anyway, I don't know. I'm here to do my thing. I'll do what I can
Yeah.
do, right? They said, do you know the songs? I said, yep. And I named the 5 tunes that Danny told me to learn.
Yeah.
They said, we're doing one of those and 4 off the new record. When will Alice be here? About 20 minutes. Show them to me. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, let's try them. I got it. I learned 4 new songs in like 22 minutes. Plus,
Wow.
I've got telephone is ringing, right?
There you go.
So now I just need some water. I got to go in the other room and I chill for a second. And I had a killer guitar with me and killer amplifier set up and all that. And these guys had sort of schmoey gear. And so Alice walks in the rehearsal studio and it had a pool table room and a ping pong table. Well,
Okay.
I'm no dope. I know Alice loves ping pong, right?
Yeah.
As he walks in the front door, I take a ping pong battle and I wing it at him. Alice, you're up. And I serve one to him. And he's, oh, ping pong. And he hits it back. And I hit it. And we volley back and forth. He
Wow.
probably
Wow.
went 30 times. Yeah, I'm playing ping pong with Alice Cooper 30 times. Pop, 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 pop. And now I'm no dummy. I know how to not win when
Yeah.
Alice,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
a sudden I miss. Oh, great shot, Alice. Oh, it was great. That was fun, Desi. Yeah. So let's go rock and roll. Okay, so we go in there and we go to play the songs. And I remembered them and I played them real well. And I'm standing up on top of the amp and I'm doing Pete Townsend windmills and I am freaking rocking it.
I
We
bet.
finished the audition. And listen, I'm always on 11. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
deal. And so we finish, and Alice is like orgasmic. He's going, oh my God. She goes, a real rock and roller again. This is freaking great, Desi. I love you. This was great, brother. Guys, what are you thinking? And the Eric guy is going, okay, anyway, listen, he had to go. I'll see. Okay, I'll see Alice. That's great. So I split. Now, I got to interject and tell you that Alice looked a little rough around the edges. He was into a substance at the
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And he was growing like what would you call that little thing they call it, a soul
Goatee. A
patch?
goatee. A goatee.
But they were here.
Okay.
He had 2 soul patches going here. And he
Wow.
looked like he had slept in 10 days. He
Wow.
didn't look real good at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I love him. Al, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, he was a little rough at the time, and he knows that too. But he's cleaned up. He's great. He's
Oh,
great.
sure. 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 Everybody
Oh my
knows
gosh.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we go home. Danny comes back, pick me up. We go home. We go out that night. We're putting makeup. We're going to go hang out at the Rainbow. By the way, we're playing the Rainbow this summer.
Oh, wow. I'll take
Yeah,
down catch
tomorrow,
that.
777 are going to be at the Rainbow, 7.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
And yeah, they're having a big party in the back and blah, blah. And so we played the whiskey last summer and they were like, you want to do the whiskey again? Or you want to do the big party at the Rainbow? I said, I don't know, to the promoter. What do you think? He said, you did the whiskey, you killed it. It was great. Do the Rainbow. Okay, so we're doing the Rainbow. Anyway, we're dialing up because we're going to hang out the Rainbow. And I'll never forget it. Danny looked like a million, and he's like my twin. We're like about 10 months apart. I'm younger. And he's got the makeup going. And I remember him looking over at me and saying, ain't this great? I'm in Rod's band. You're going to be in Alice's band. This is great, Des. And I was like, it is great, Danny. It's great. Get my stuff on. We go out, we hang out. We had a great time that night. wake up in the morning, and he said, no call so far. He goes, that's good news. He goes, we got to get you some new guitars and some new clothes and stuff, and let's go. So we went up and down Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset, and I went in and I put money down a brand new red Sparkle Les Paul and a blue Sparkle Les Paul. And I got a red leather I got fitted for a red leather jumpsuit and a blue leather suit. And dude, I was gonna be like, I was ready, right?
Yeah.
And so now his girlfriend at the time was a gal named Shay Zuro. She was in a band called the Orchids with Nikki Sixx's old girlfriend, whatever that drummer.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So the Orchids, they were pretty good. And so I think they were on Arista. So Shay comes busting into this. So we were over at Valdez Guitar, and I'm looking and seeing about having a double neck made, and I'm ready to be in Alice Cooper's band.
I bet, yeah.
Oh yeah. And so she goes, hurry, Desi, Jim Moon is on the phone. Jim Moon? Yeah, Alice's road manager. Oh, okay. So we run out of it. I'll be back. And we run down to the corner. We go up the stairs, and I know enough not to be out of breath.
Yeah.
So I take a second. I pick up the phone. Jim, Desi. He goes, hey, Desi. He goes, it was great seeing you. Alice loves you. I said, oh, I loved him too. We had a great time. You rocked those tunes. I said, that's awesome. He goes, and we're going to go with the other guy. So I just wanted to give you a call. And
what? Wow.
Oh, I said, yeah, you know what? That goes like that sometimes. I said, I had a great time. Tell Alice I loved it. I'll see him around somewhere. Great, man. Bye. Boom. And now Danny and Shay come in because the call took about 30 seconds. Yeah. And they go, so what's the story? I said, they're going with the fat truck driver from Texas. He said, what? He said, call him back. Something's wrong. Call him back. I said, I don't want to call him back. He's call him back. I call him back. Jim answers the phone. He goes, and this is way before caller ID.
Yeah.
He says, Des? I said, yeah. He goes, I figured. I said, what's the story, Jim? He said, did you get a good look at Alice? And I thought, I kind of put it all together. I said, yeah. He said, Desi, my job is to have all the little girls look at Alice. That's my job. He said, that's not going to work like that if you're in the band. Do you understand?
Wow.
Well, I appreciated the honesty, but it was a hard slap in the face about, like the business. Because I'm a pretty young kid at the time, and I thought, wow.
Talk about a real learning experience. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like there's more to it than just being able to play your guitar.
I mean, most people meet you, they look at you and they, okay, he's a great lead singer. He can play guitar. He can write songs. This is a guy that can kind of do it all. And in spite of that, you didn't get the gig specifically because you look too good.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'm not.
No, I know, but yeah.
I'm just telling you the story. It was just like, and imagine it's today. I do a quick flight. I'm back. Money's tight, and then I got to tell my sweetheart, we owe $2,200 for a flight for something that didn't work out.
I mean, Desi. I got to tell you, I think this thing once a month is going to be so fun because as you're telling the story, you're getting so excited, like you're living in the moment. I'm believing, like, oh my God, this guy's joining Alice Cooper's band, and then the letdown, but hey, that's life.
That's the reality of it. Like, I'm trying to take you through it,
Yeah.
So now factor this in now. So, I mean, right after that, I was so determined to have success, specifically because that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so this gal that I knew very well in Chicago, and she knew Chip, and she used to come out to all our shows. She worked at an outfit called Jam Productions in Chicago, which was Jerry Mickelson and Arnie Granite. And they were the premier promoters. If you played Chicago, Jam Productions booked your show. And the big guys, yeah. So now I ended up putting a band together. And it was pretty good, little band. And just before I was ready to take the band to Los Angeles, another guy in town who, frankly, he had some money. And he came in and he said to my guys, I'm going to LA next week. When is Desi planning on getting you guys there? We're planning on going in about 10 weeks. He goes, I'll get you there next week. You want to join my band? I'll put you on salary.
Wow.
I lost the entire band.
Wow.
So this is not where we're staying. This is a new band that I had to scrounge together of good players, and I lose that one. So now I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go to LA, and I packed up my van. I put everything I owned. I had about 7 guitars and all my stuff, my leather pants with my heart on there and everything. And I'm ready to go. I go there, and down at the Sunset Grill. You remember that song by Don Henley?
Oh, sure,
Okay,
sure.
that's a real place, the Sunset Grill. And he's dead now. He was a Jewish guy that had been in one of the concentration camps. He had the numbers on his arm and
Wow.
everything, and that sweet little wife. And he was a great guy. And what do you want? Okay. And I would always eat like pastrami sandwiches, and he'd grill them. And I ate them until the roof of my mouth came off from the sharp toast he had and everything. But they were so yummy. And he loved me, and he let me park my van, and I lived behind the Sunset Grill
Wow.
on Sunset. Now, right now, that's not there anymore. It's next door to what is now Guitar Center. But it used to be a movie theater. And I remember one time being there watching Rambo First Blood
Wow.
on Christmas Day. And
Wow.
there's me and one other guy. And I are the only guys in the theater watching Rambo First Blood on Christmas. And I'm thinking, I don't care, man, whatever it takes, I am going to make it in this town. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of determination I had.
Yeah.
And I met a guy at the time. We're coming around to Kiss now. I met a
Sure.
guy named Michael Japp. Mike, if you're still out there, you were a brother and a half. I love you. Thank you for what you did for me,
That,
brother.
that
You're the
name
best.
sounds familiar. I think he's the guy that wrote with Gene and Paul over the years, like for Creatures of Night or something.
Yes, yes. Michael Japp wrote with Paul
Okay.
on when they had those 4 albums that each had their face on them.
Yeah.
If you look and see, you'll see that he co-wrote one song on one side
Okay.
with Paul, and he co-wrote or wrote all of the other songs on the other side. So
Okay.
that's a lot of
Yeah.
songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turns out he was a guy, he used to write for Kiss,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he would sell them the song. And once you sell your song, your name isn't on there anymore. So
Yeah.
nobody knew the name Michael Japp through Kiss, but they did through Paul. Paul was a nice enough guy. And he was like, that's okay, Mike, it's not about that. He goes, yeah, I want you to get some credit. Paul was real
Yeah.
nice like that. So that's Michael Jepp. So I met him, and he's kind of a shortish guy, and he's from Wales, and he's got blonde hair, and he doesn't look like Kiss.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had dark hair, and tall and thin, and I kind of looked like Kiss. And for a long time, Kiss only had guys that were dark and thin and tall,
Yeah. Yeah.
except for Eric behind the drums because he's short. But you're behind the drums, you can't tell, which
Yeah.
is another great story. You probably know the story. Eric Carr auditioned for Kiss. And before he auditioned, when he came in, set up his drums and everything, he said, I'm a big fan. Would you guys mind signing this for me?
Yeah. I heard that story before. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a true story.
Wow.
And then he sits down and he plays like King of Thunder, right? But they thought he was so humble. They just loved that about him, that he was such a nice kid.
Yeah.
And he got the gig. And do you know what band Eric Carr played for before Kiss?
Well, I heard he was in a band, I think, called Flasher or something like that.
No, he was never in a band. He
Oh.
went from the basement to Kiss.
Well, yeah, I knew he used to at one time repair like stove ranges. So
He may have had something else, or
yeah,
maybe some little band that did, but they never toured, never had a record. He went from the
amazing.
basement to Kiss.
Wow, amazing.
Gene,
Yeah.
Gene told me the story. Gene told
Yeah.
me the story. So anyway, now here we are, and it's like Michael Japp I meet, and he's a very nice guy, and he invited me to go to his house. He had some cool guitars I wanted to see, and he opens up this flight case that had 2 guitars, sort of like Pisces or 69 this way, one this way, one this way,
Yeah. Yeah.
2 in one case, right? And they were both Dwights, and a Dwight is an English Gibson, late 50s. They look very, very much like Les Paul Juniors, and he knew that I played juniors. And I remember Jimmy, what was his name in that band? Apache. Apache, I forget the name of the band, but they did Chain, Chain, Chain. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that they
yeah.
redid that.
Bullet Boys.
Not Bullet Boys, no, but it was right at that same time. Another band that covered that song, that hung out with Bullet Boys, and Apache was, and I remember Apache saying to me, what kind of guitar do you play, Des? I said, Les Paul Jr. I said, it only really has one sound. And he says, yeah, but it's the sound.
Yeah.
That's Apache. So Anyway, Mike Japp says, you got to come up and see. I got a couple of Dwights. Dwights, yeah, yeah. And he shows me. And he says, this one I got from Michael Corby from the Babies before he got put in jail for selling drugs. He goes,
Wow.
in the original Babies. He says, this one was Steve Marriott's from Humble Pie.
Huh.
And I said, I know Stevie. I love Steve. That's another story sometime. Ask me, make a little note. Next time I'll tell you about Steve Marriott.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to stay on your Kiss thing here. So Mike says, Kiss is going to be auditioned. They're replacing Kiss. I said, they are? He said, yeah. He goes, are you a big Kiss fan? I said, I'm not. He goes, would it be cool to be in the band? I said, I don't know, Mike. Would it be cool? He says, well, I wrote a bunch of songs for them. They pay well. They're really great guys. They're clean and sober. He said, I think it might be a good gig for you. I said, well, okay, what do I do? He says, I'll set you up with an audition. So either this is my advice to whoever's out there, either be the first one or the last one or have a hook. Yeah. And Mike was my hook. So when I showed up to do the Kiss audition and I walked in, it wasn't like a bunch of guys. They were waiting there that night for me. Desi, you're here. Hi, come on in, And I'm not going to tell you what I went by a different name.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So it was that name.
Okay.
And that comes in a little later because, a few years later, Demals comes to town. Yeah. And I bump into Gene at the Rainbow. And Gene comes up to me and he goes, don't tell me. I'm very good with names. And he says it. He says that name. I said, no, it's Desi. He goes, it's not. I said, Desi. I said, it's Desi Rexx, Gene. He says, well, okay, Desi, but you and I know. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I go in and I had a super cool flying V that had been in a fire and it was all charred. And I cut the wings down. It was little and it made me look that much bigger. And he says, okay. And he had what was that song name? Da 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 da. I don't know what it is. I think later it was called War
Machine.
Yeah, but it wasn't at that time. Now he and Paul don't always get along. Yeah. But that's Kiss, Gene and Paul. Yeah. And when they get along, it's great. When they don't get along, then Gene has Studio C and makes 5 songs for a record, and Paul has Studio D.
Interesting.
And makes 5 songs for a record, and he calls them in, put the bass on this, calls them in, put the guitar on this. Okay. And then when they get along, but they never break up because business is business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the story.
Right. But that's true. And
that's how Kiss has lasted for 50 years, Desi.
Listen, they know something, do they not?
Yeah, they know how to write hit songs, right?
Or buy them, or you know what I mean? The point is they know how to write or acquire or record and release hit songs.
Here's an interesting thing about that. I mean, they get accused of not being the greatest musicians, but you know what I say? Kiss has lasted for 50 years because they've got great songs, they got great hooks, that's what you need.
And I got to tell you, they're pretty good players.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They're pretty good players. They're definitely a cut above. Are they, Yngwie, Billy Sheehan? No.
They don't need to be, though.
They don't need to be because they got that incredible show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've never, in fact, they've downplayed the talent as, we don't try to do that. And they're much better than they pretend.
Yeah, and I think you would have been a perfect replacement for Ace in the sense that, like Ace Frehley, you could sing lead, you could write songs. I mean, even the guy that got in there to eventually replace him, Vinny, he could kind of do both, but in Kiss, he was just kind of a shredder.
Wait till I tell you how it went.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, and Gene says, you look a little thin. He's a Jewish guy and he cares for people. He's very nice like that. Yeah. You look a little thin. He goes, come on out here. He goes, I got to watch my weight. He goes, we've got some killer blueberry cobbler. He goes, here, as much of it as you want. Have it, He says, Jackie's a good friend of ours. That was that girl that.
Yeah.
So when I walked in, I said, you guys know Jackie Blue? Oh, yeah, Jackie. Oh, yeah. You look a little thin. Come on over here. Let's have that. Here, you eat that. I said, oh, they're delicious, Dean. He says, take the whole pan home with you. It's okay. Take it, And so we're like palling up. And he kind of liked me. I kind of liked him. Let me call Paul in. He's in the other studio, Paul, Desi's here, and that other name. And so he comes in, how you doing? He's got that rose tattoo, and hey, it's good to see, and no makeup on or anything, right? You know, and so we must, I don't know how long we talked, quite a while before we actually got down to the playing of it. And he says, you feel like playing? Yeah. He says, okay. And he puts that song on, da, 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 you know, and it's when you're trying to craft a solo,
Yeah.
you sort of want to hit on the, I don't want to get boring with it, but that riff is a very strange one to solo over.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam. That's, you'd want to go over that stuff.
Yeah.
But he wanted the solo over that main riff.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. I said, you got anything you hear? He goes, yeah, just blow it in E, go for it. Okay. And I freaking lit it up. And he goes, yeah, yeah, I love it. That's it. That's it, you know? And so the audition ended and we talked a while more and thanks for coming. Okay, I'll see you. And I go home and I don't know how I ended up talking, no cell phones in those days. I don't know how I ended up talking to Chip, but I did end up speaking to Chip. And maybe I was going to come in town to Chicago for a minute. I think I did. I had to help out. My dad had a business. I think I went in town for a couple of minutes there. I was just going to be, I think that's it. I'm just going to be in town for a minute. Hey, okay. So, you know, what have you been up to? I just auditioned for KISS. How does it look? Well, there were 2,000 guys, but I think it looks pretty good. Now, fast forward, it turns out it was down to 3 of us.
Wow.
A guy named Steve from Boston, who later, when Damals broke up one time, Atlantic told Damals, they told me, don't worry about it. Put a new band together and go support your record. They told the band, get a new lead singer and go make a new record. Atlantic wasn't dumb. They figured they'd get 2 bands out of it.
Hey, Desi, I hate to interrupt you, but the machine's about ready to cut off. So okay. I'm going to hit you up on Facebook, and maybe we could catch this up in part 2 in a few days. Would that work for you?
Yeah. Give me, how much time do we have?
It says less than a minute.
Okay. So Chip says, please don't go with KISS. Stay here. Let's put the old